I'm live on this channel for the very first time, and my heart was kind of pounding when I was setting up this video because going live means that uh, well, it's not recorded, so I can't edit it, and I could technically take it down, but my main reason for doing a live video is because I've recorded a bunch of videos for this channel over the past 6 months or so and kind of chickened out on posting them because they all felt so raw and vulnerable, and I just felt a lot of resistance coming up, which is the topic of this video. It's 11:41 p.m. Pacific, so I'm really curious if anybody is going to be watching, but really, as much as I would love to interact with you, the main point of this is just to hold myself accountable for actually having a video up. But if any of you happen to be watching, oh, I think I have one person now, which is so exciting. Because, with no advance notice and with me having not posted videos recently, I just didn't know if anybody was going to show up. So thank you to whoever you are. If you'd like to say hello, type it in the chat. I'd love to interact with you guys throughout this video, but I'm really just going to treat this like a regular recorded video of mine and just share some things that have been on my heart recently. And yeah, I would really love to do more live videos, and I think I'm going to. I was actually so excited when I saw the announcement a few days ago that YouTube now allows live videos for channels at my subscriber base for this channel. I've been doing a few live videos for the main Eco Vegan Gal channel, which has many more subscribers, and for a while they had like a threshold for like you had to have at least 10,000 subscribers in your channel to go live, and I was so bummed because I really want to do live videos on this channel to hold myself accountable and connect with you guys more. My point being, I'm excited to be doing this, but also I would love to hear from you if you want to see more live videos and what times would be good for you. I assume 11:45-ish p.m. Pacific is not the most ideal time for most people, considering there's only one of you watching it, which is Nellie. Oh, Nellie, just knowing your name, and Nellie just said, thanks for your positive videos. That warms my heart so much. So Nellie, thank you so much for being here in this impromptu live video, and thank you for your thanks. The encouragement really, really means a lot, especially as I share the topic of tonight, which is resistance and something called spiritual fatigue, which is a term I don't recall having heard before, but I was listening to the audiobook version of Firestarter, I think it's called Firestarter Sessions by Danielle Laporte, and I just started listening to it tonight, and she mentioned this term, spiritual fatigue, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think that's exactly what's been going on with me lately. And it's just like that term resonated with me in my heart. It just felt right. So I went home and I researched it a little, and it just feels like exactly what I've been going through, or at least part of what I've been going through. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've learned and tell you more about what's going on in my life. Now I have 3 people watching. This is awesome. You guys mean so much to me that you're here for my first video. So I would love to hear who you are. Say your name, where you're from if you feel like it. If you have questions or topic suggestions, let me know. I really think the great majority of my content on YouTube, at least for a little while, is going to be live. Because of my resistance and the spiritual fatigue, which we'll talk about soon, I've found it really challenging to make videos. And I think it's on a whole nother level, but resistance might be like the best term to describe what I've been going through. I've just been struggling with a lot of doubt, self-doubt, worthiness, and a lot's just been coming up for me. I feel like the past 6 months have just been so challenging, and I'm gonna get emotional. The the past year has been hard, and it's interesting. It's all relative, right? And I don't know if this past year is any harder than other years, but like I guess because it's it's the most recent year, it feels really challenging because it's like the closest in memory to me. So I know I've been through tough times before, but I just feel like this past year has just been one challenge after another. And I've really had to look at these challenges with a positive mindset and gratitude, because I feel like gratitude is the most important thing for us to do, is what can we find to be grateful for. And looking at all things with love has been a big practice of mine. And as much as I get those concepts, that doesn't make it easy. And I've just been doing so much self-work. I've just dove headfirst into self-work. And I've really been on that path very strongly for a couple years now, but this past year, I feel like I've been like forced into major self-work because it's a lot of personal challenges that have just come up for me, and just a lot of emotional suffering. I really look forward to the day that I find the courage to upload the videos that I've made in the past 6 months, because I've talked really in depth about the type of emotional suffering I've faced in the past year. I remember I made like this video that was like super vulnerable, probably like 4 or 5 months ago, and that was the one that I really want to upload at some point. I'm actually thinking of having a part of my new membership platform, Eco Vegan Pal, which I've been working on for a while. I want to have a section of that dedicated to the uncensored community, where it's like a little secret section just for you guys, where I'll upload like the videos that I don't want to make fully public, but if you're part of the Eco Vegan Pal community, you'll be able to access them. So that's in my mind, and a place that I'll get to as soon as Eco Vegan Pal is finally out. And also, I just noticed there were 5 people, now there are 4 people. I just want to reiterate, if you're just joining, I would love to just hear who you are. So put in the comment section your name, where you're from, anything you want to say, anything that you want to hear, any questions you have for me. I'm not just using this as a recording, but I really an interactive time for us. So yeah, so I've just been so invested in myself, but it hasn't been easy. And I don't know if I'm facing a lot of resistance to things that I need to do because of all that self-work, but the research I just did about spiritual fatigue kind of makes it all make some sense. I'll dive into some of the notes that I've uncovered in my research in a moment, but just the summary is that for whatever reason, I have struggled so much with creating anything, and it's so frustrating. I feel like I know better. I feel like everything is obvious. Like every tool I need, I have, and every mindset I've looked into, and I'm constantly researching and constantly studying, learning new things all the time. But implementing them, putting them into action, I just have massive resistance to, and it is incredibly, incredibly frustrating, because there's so much I want to achieve, and there's so much I want to give. But especially not creating videos on this channel has been weighing heavy on my heart, because the community here on the Uncensored channel, I just feel so deeply connected to you guys, because this is the one place I'm the most vulnerable out of all the places I am on the web. And just the usual outpouring of love here on this channel is so wonderful, and it creates this like emotional bond, even though I don't know many of you very well. I hope to change that, especially when the Eco Vegan Pal platform comes out. But yeah, it's tough. And so I've recorded videos, but I just constantly feel resistance to uploading them. So it's like this, I've just been in this weird place for months and months, where I know the things I want to do. I know the things that I quote unquote should do, but doing them, it's like I feel like frozen and stuck, and just like, I don't know, it's the weirdest thing. Today happened again. Like I woke up this morning and I felt energized and had enough sleep, and I've gone through some more recent challenges lately, but nonetheless, I thought I'm going to persevere and I'm going to get up today and accomplish a lot. And I started off like my first hour of the day, like really feeling good about the direction I was going into. And then like the resistance kicked in, and the rest of the day I practically did nothing. And it's like, one of the biggest practices for me is not judging that and not shaming myself. I wouldn't say that I'm accomplishing that 100%, but I just have to force myself to be accepting of myself. So let me tell you a little bit about what I've learned about spiritual fatigue, not just so that you can understand me and what I'm going through, but maybe this will resonate with you too. And I would love to hear whether you're watching live and you want to chime in at some point, or if you want to leave a comment on underneath the YouTube video as usual. So like I said, I heard this term from Danielle Laporte, and actually when I did a web search for spiritual fatigue and Danielle Laporte, she hasn't really talked about it much. Maybe it's just she mentioned it once in the Firestarter sessions, and that's it. But I was able to find a ton of mentions of it online. Some of them are more in like the traditional spirituality mindset, kind of like the Buddhist mentality, and then some of the resources were based more like a Christian mindset, talking about God and Jesus, and so I think spiritual fatigue fits into that as well. But here's some of the things that I read online. So one article started off with some questions to help you figure out if you are in fact spiritually fatigued. And it started off by saying, do you sometimes feel droopy, exhausted, dry, joyless, irritated, or anxious? I feel like most people feel those feelings at some point, so I think many people can say yes to that. The next question is life sometimes on fast forward and you can't catch up? Which again, I think is something a lot of us experience. And lastly, are you sometimes too tired to be inspired, motivated, or uplifted? Now, really, I think like you guys will probably be saying yes to all of these, because I just think it's very common to experiencing these feelings, and they really resonate with me right now in my life. Then the article goes on to say, you may be suffering from spiritual fatigue. It means your soul is exhausted, not just your body. Spiritual fatigue is a sign that we have become separated from ourselves somewhere along the way and need to reconnect. As you do less, you're still really, really tired, which is exactly what I've been experiencing. As it says here, it's like eating, meditating, and maybe an afternoon walk is all the energy you have. Exactly what I've been going through. And it's like the most frustrating thing when I'm not doing anything at all and I'm still tired. I'm getting enough sleep. I'm still tired. I'm drinking tons of water. I'm still tired. I'm taking my supplements. I'm eating healthy. I'm exercising. I'm doing everything that should contribute to energy, and yet I'm still tired. And this has been going on for months and months and months. And I in my heart don't think that this is a medical thing, although I do have plans to go to the doctor, but it's just like sometimes you intuitively know. It's my body doesn't feel off at all. It's like just pure exhaustion. And again, it's just an intuition of believing that this is not like a physical ailment. It's like something is off with my soul, or as this article will go on, I may be going through some sort of a transition in my life. Which is where the next part of this article comes in. So you are moving through moments of profound silence, stillness, and love. When all this is coming together, you can be pretty sure that the fatigue you're feeling is from awakening. Part of what happens is that we're being transformed on every level of ourselves. Some parts of us transform very easily, some do not. We will find more resistance or density in certain areas of ourselves. With most or all of our energy tied up in that transformation, you don't have much energy for the world. The fatigue is coming from a lack of energy, or rather, a lack of energy for doing anything but transforming. the greater resistance you have, the greater and greater exhaustion you're likely to have after spiritual awakening. Inside your soul, the real you, has already chosen this path, and you need to come into acceptance of it. If you don't, then you're still resisting the change. It's time to let go of that resistance. It's absolutely exhausting. Resisting your spiritual awakening will take away every last bit of energy that you have. Reading this resonates with me so much, while being vague about some of the things that I've been through, the challenging parts of my life lately, which have mostly been on the personal side of my life, have kind of forced me to do a ton of inner work. And I believe that it's all happening for a reason. I've had to move through a lot of emotions around, what did I do? I was almost going to say, like, what did I do to deserve this? I guess on some level I might feel that. Or I brought this upon myself, or it's my fault this is happening. Like those things that come up, which are also getting me a little choked up. Because those are painful things to think and believe. And, as painful as the things that have come up for me, what's interesting is there's been a pattern. And basically, every 2 months, a very similar thing has happened in my life. And right now I just don't feel comfortable sharing the details, but maybe I will in the future. It's just been 2 months, and then something will happen and it'll feel really good at first, and then maybe a month or two will go by, and then a period of suffering comes in again as a result, or something just doesn't go right, and then I'm dealing with the emotional weight of that. So it's just been that ongoing one thing after another for the past year. And again, all very similar things. And so they've been different enough from each other that I've started to be able to identify elements of myself through these challenges. So I guess when I look back in hindsight, it's almost like this past year has been tough for a reason. And it's been an escalated spiritual awakening, for lack of a better term, of all of these events that have happened, all these challenges, all these moments of suffering that I've been through have forced me to do so much work on myself in this rapid pace. So it almost makes complete sense why I'm exhausted. It's like if you were to exercise a ton for months and months, you're going to go through a period of physical exhaustion because you're doing so much work on your body. I think the same thing can happen with us on a spiritual, emotional level, where we're doing so much work on ourselves, it's just utterly exhausting, but we know that that's a priority, and that's the only place that we want to put our energy. So for me, it's been a ton of reading, ton of time. I've been reading so many books. I've been listening to audiobooks. I've been talking to a lot of friends too, and what's interesting is I've seen a lot of my close friends going through very similar things, none of which seem to be having them as frequently as I have, but a lot of my friends, especially at the beginning of this year, 2017, there was 4 or 5 of my friends going through almost the exact same things at the same time, which I thought was interesting, maybe from some universal timing perspective, and I'd be curious if any of you experienced that too. And so I was kind of fascinated by that, and it was nice in a way to I was gonna say suffer along with other people, and nobody wants to suffer, but at least it's nice to have company and understanding when you're in those places. So even Danielle Laporte says that in the fire starter sessions, having friends that can go through different things and learn from one another, and Eve just chimed in to say yes to that. So it sounds like Eve can relate to that. Eve, I'm wondering if you can share as much as you want here. You're always welcome to message me privately, but I'd be curious, what part of this you're saying yes to. Were you going through a challenging time yourself? So I say all of that because all that inner work is draining in itself. or the suffering is draining. And then if you choose to do the work to heal from the suffering, that work is exhausting. Just lying in bed and reading a book and reflecting on things is so exhausting. And then what I've had to work through a lot is not feeling shame for that, is allowing myself that period of time. But maybe the hardest part of all of this has been how long it's taking. It's like I feel like almost every day I'm saying, when is this going to be over? But really, from a spiritual perspective, and Em just chimed in to say, don't have a kid, talk about exhausting. I think about that a lot. I've thought that I've wanted to have children for a very long time, and lately I'm wondering if I do want to have children. I think I still do, deep down. I know it's a lot of work, but who knows? We'll have to see what the universe has in store for me on that end. But what I was saying is that a lot of the work I've had to do on myself is not judging myself for this period of time. So it's like there's multiple levels to this, right? There's healing from suffering, number one, and then there's learning from suffering, and then there's having patience for yourself as you're learning, as you're recovering. And all three are incredibly challenging. I mean, suffering is it's tough, right? And there's so many different versions of suffering and levels of suffering, and that's all relative. And that in itself is enough for most people. It's like all they want to do is recover. They want to heal. They want to move on. They want to get over the suffering as fast as possible. For me, part of my process from suffering has been, in order to heal, I want to learn from it. So that was the second level. And learning from it is a challenging thing. I did read some phenomenal books around this, and I'm constantly reading phenomenal books. I could give you a list of at least 20 books that have really shifted things for me. And, I've been trying to think of a way to put together a book club on personal development. I've experimented with book clubs in the past, and I haven't found the right, what's the word I'm looking for? The right way to hold a book club, but one of these days I'll figure it out, because I love, love, love books, and I want to discuss them, and I want to inspire you to read them too. And I read a few books last year that were specifically about suffering. One of them is called Tears to Triumph by Marianne Williamson. Great book. I love her work in general. And then the other one was or at least one book I read by Pema Chodron, who is a Buddhist, and she has some phenomenal work around suffering. And actually, Pema's work really helped me understand suffering and the point of suffering a lot. So I'll have to go back and revisit that, and maybe I can do another video on what I learned from her. And I talked about these things in the videos that I've recorded from you and have yet to upload. So eventually those will be up for you to see if you're interested. So let me finish up with the notes from Spiritual Fatigue. And again, if any of you guys watching have things that you want to say about your own lives or questions or anything, any books that you've read, however you want to chime in, again, I love for this to be as interactive as possible, especially those of you who are with me at midnight and Pacific time. So all the suffering that you perhaps didn't know was there is coming up to be processed and released so that you can be happy, healthy, and whole. As you heal, you can open further and go deeper. Deeper wounds can be illuminated, and your spiritual growth can expand you even more. So when you look at this whole process from that perspective, it feels like there is a reason for it. But, it's not easy at all, and I think that's part of the reason, suffering's so interesting, and personal development's really interesting too. I think I have a greater understanding now as to why most people, or I don't want to say most, I would say a lot of people choose not to do inner work on themselves. It is painful, it is time consuming, it is frustrating, and it's just hard overall. I mean, the fact that I've chosen to go through this path of working on myself, and I feel like I've done so much work, and yet it still doesn't feel like it's working, which I put into quotes because I'm sure it's working on some level, but it's not working on the level that my ego wants it to. The ego comes up a lot in all this personal development, and you start to realize like how much of you is in resistance to things because of your ego. And, or I should say how much your ego is resistant to things. And so you see why a lot of people avoid doing this work. You see why a lot of people cover up their suffering. In fact, that was part of the fire starter sessions. Let me see if I can pull up that line. There was a really good one on this. Let's see if I can go back to it real quick. Because Danielle Laporte had a good, let's see. Oh, here it is. Okay. Give me one moment. Okay, so, okay. She talks about like how we cover it up. Oh yeah, okay. So psychologically, we can limp on for years with aching hearts and vexations, just mobile enough to manage day-to-day existence. If you're spiritually fatigued for long enough, you will downshift into unconscious enduring. You endure the doubt and the gray hue and the disconnectedness. You'll begin to believe that if it's this hard for so many of us for so long, then that just must be the way that it is. And so you make adjustments for your desires. You amend your hopes. You repeatedly ignore your hunger. When we're spiritually fatigued, we tend to make weak decisions. We compromise. I'm talking about the set yourself short kind of compromise. Where you tell yourself that you don't really deserve to want what you want, that you should just be more accommodating, that you really should be more reasonable. And this is the killer concept. This is as good as it gets. These are the very notions that veil the light of your essential self and keep you from what you want the most. So you can see why I'm listening to this book right now. I actually have listened to it before. Side note, since I love books so much, I have to tell you guys, there is an amazing resource out there called Overdrive. I feel like I should get them as a sponsor or something, because I could talk about this company every day. Overdrive allows you to listen to books or download ebooks for free. So you can get audiobooks and ebooks for free through your library. And it covers every library in the US. I don't know if it's literally every library. It might be outside the US. I don't know. I just checked this out less than 2 weeks ago. I went on a road trip and I wanted some audiobooks, and I was didn't want to sign up for Audible. I think Audible's great, but it's kind of expensive. If you're going on a road trip, you might be listening to more than one book, and Audible only gives you one book a month, yada yada. So then I was like, oh yeah, Overdrive. So I signed up for it, and it's completely free. You type in your library card, and you can download almost any book you can possibly imagine in audiobook form or ebook form. Many of them you have to wait for. There's a queue for them, so you can be put on the waiting list, but some of them you can get instantly. Fire Starter Sessions was on my list, and so now it's in my audiobook queue, and I just started listening today completely for free. So just had to let you know about that. So anyways, let's go back to, I have a few more things from my research on spiritual fatigue, and then I'll probably wrap this up, unless I have something else I want to discuss after that, or you guys watching live chime in. Again, it makes my heart feel good, and I just see that a new person joined. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. So at such a random time, and I can't wait to just connect with you more. Again, I just want to reiterate, you can chime in now through chat at any point, or you can leave a comment on YouTube when this goes up there, or you can message me privately. Connecting with you is one of my favorite things to do. Okay, so to wrap up the spiritual fatigue research, I loved this. Consider that we're like caterpillars going into our, this word I haven't said in a very long time, is it how do you say this? Chrysalises? No, chrysalis? Is that how you say it? When caterpillars go into their transition to become butterflies. Anyways, we need a lot of time in there to become butterflies, but we can't fully give ourselves to that transformation if we're already trying to fly before we have wings, or if we're still trying to crawl all over the place. Let me say that one more time. I think this is amazing. Consider that we're like caterpillars. We need a lot of time in our cocoons to become butterflies. But we can't fully give ourselves to that transformation if we're already trying to fly before we have wings, or if we're still trying to crawl all over the place. And I think that's the state that I'm in right now. I don't want to crawl anymore. And I'm really ready to fly, but I'm more like anticipating the flying, but actually not ready to fly because I'm still in the cocoon transformation phase. And I bet a lot of you can relate to that. Even if you don't on a very conscious level relate to it, deep down, there's probably something that you want in your life that you might not even believe that you can have. Yes, that's how you spell it, M, but I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it. I could turn on like the Google pronunciation feature, but I'm not going to waste your time with that. Anyways, thank you. So it's, I guess, like the place that I've been right now is I'm like in the cocoon, and I don't want to be in the cocoon anymore, but I have to be in the cocoon. That's just where I'm at. And so it's hard to be patient when you're in that transition place, that transformation place. But you have to give yourself that time. You have to be patient with it, because if you try to rush through something, maybe you'll come out of the cocoon and you'll be like a deformed butterfly, or maybe you'll burst out of the cocoon too fast and you'll still be a caterpillar and you'll still be crawling and you won't ever get to fly. I don't know if that is actually what could happen, but my point is the metaphor of this all. So just being okay with where you're at, whatever stage you're in, which is how the article or some of the resources that I compiled basically wrap up and say, do what you have to, and then trust that the rest will attend to itself. And that's also been a big challenge, but something I've been working through is, it's really hard as an entrepreneur. It may be even harder if you're not an entrepreneur, actually, if you're working like a 9-to-5 job or any sort of job that requires you to be in at a certain place in a certain time. But doing all this transformational work. Oh, okay. Bye, Eve. Thank you so much from Belgium. It's so cool when people are like from around the world. No wonder you guys are watching at this time. Oh, my connection just got really bad. Hold on. Brace yourself. I don't know what happened. Trying to wait it out. I don't know if it's completely interrupting my audio or not. Let's see. If anybody is... You're still coming in fine. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Sorry. YouTube was still a little finicky. I got like a text message and I think it interrupted the flow. Anyways, that threw me off a little. Oh, I was just saying that, in terms of that last part about trusting that the rest will attend to itself, that's what I've been trying to practice a lot, is that trust, is that I'm here for a reason, I'm in this for a reason, and I just have to focus on myself. One of the hardest parts about that, and I think another reason why people don't spend a lot of time working on themselves, is because of the amount of time and work it takes. You basically, in order to really grow to great heights, at least
At least that's what I'm experiencing right now. In order to do the growth I need to do, I have to give that my full attention. And that means that I haven't been creating as much content, as I said at the beginning of this video. And that means that I actually haven't been doing very much work at all. And that is so hard, because that means I haven't been generating a lot of income. And it's bringing up a lot of money issues, or a lot of like money emotions for me. It's this fear of like, oh my gosh, I'm not generating income right now, or very much of it. How am I going to pay my bills? It has forced me to be in so much trust, because I've barely done any work in the past 2 months. And I've been okay with it, and now, like most recently in the past like few weeks, I've like come back into like a fear-based mode, and that's what I'm trying to work through. It's just trusting. You know, it sounds maybe crazy if you haven't done any work around money, but it is possible to make money without working. It is possible to attract money when you're not working. And I'm kind of in this place where I'm like, my spiritual growth, my development as a person is so important, not only just to my life, but for all the work that I do. Every part of my career is connected to me as a person, which might sound kind of obvious, but like it's literally connected to me because I am my brand. So I am Eco Vegan Gal, I am my Creative Wealth project and my Well Network project. All my companies, all my businesses are all dependent on me as a person, and I want it to be that way. I love that, but if I'm not the best person that I can be, none of that work can survive. So what I'm going through right now is absolutely vital for me, and I actually think this is true for anybody, no matter what they're doing. Who we are is, and doing our best, succeeding in our lives, is deeply connected to how much work we've done on ourselves. And sure, we can get by. You can make tons of money without doing work on yourself. I mean, we see it all the time. We look at what's going on with the U.S. government. Marina is here right now from Bulgaria. How cool! Thank you so much for chiming in. Yeah, I mean, it certainly is possible to make tons of money and to be very successful without working on yourself, without being a quote-unquote good person. We see bad people, mean people, corrupt people, doing all sorts of successful things in the world. But the type of person that I want to be, the type of success I want, is so connected to that deep growth that in order for me to grow and to get a certain point with my life, I have to do this work. And right now, I have to let go, and I have to trust that the money will be there when I need it. And man, is that tough. So tough. But I also teach about money. I have a program called Creative Wealth, and I did this online program last year, and I'm eventually will do the second version of it soon. I have a Facebook group. If any of you are interested, just let me know in a comment or a message, and I'll bring you into it. It's called Creative Wealth, and it's all about creating great content. So for content creators, influencers, bloggers, Instagrammers, YouTubers, etc., people that want to make change in the world through their content and do it and make money from it and be successful with it. That's a huge, huge passion of mine, and I coach people in this. I love this topic. I research this constantly, but that doesn't mean I have it all figured out. And one of the things that I've wanted to work through so much is to get to the root of my own money issues. And I bring this all up because it's a very interesting place to be in when you have to do all the work on yourself, and that means that you're not doing actual work and generating money. And I hope to come out on the other side and have a great story for you guys. I honestly have no idea right now where my next big income stream will be, but I trust that it'll be right around the corner. And maybe this was part of one of those stories. You know, if you ever read like some of these personal development books, they often have like these crazy stories about how everything came together when they least expected it. I'm looking forward to sharing one of those stories, but I have no idea what that story is going to be. Anyways, that's just part of the transparency of where I'm at. And Marina was just saying that she can really understand that. Working through money issues is a big thing, and it's a very hard thing. I was just talking to someone about this last night, and just a quick summary: this person is working a job that he absolutely hates. He hates it, and he knows that he should quit and move on to something else. What he really wants to do is have this creative career that people succeed with all the time. But he has it in his head that he can't do it, he can't make money from it, and he won't be successful, even though he's incredibly talented, and he knows he's talented. Even though he knows that is his deepest passion, he is terrified beyond measure to pursue that career because he believes that he basically is not good enough to make money from it. And it was so interesting. I have these conversations with people all the time, more often than not, people that doubt themselves so much. And I can see so clearly how they can work through that and how they can succeed. And I have so much belief in them, but having that belief for myself is a whole other thing. And so, as I've been saying in this video, I don't think that there's coincidences. I think all this stuff happens for a reason. I think people like that person I just mentioned come into my life in order to be a reflective mirror and to show me that I need to see that in myself too. And Indeed and Truth just asked, what's my best advice on that? Again, it's so interesting because I love talking about this. I can give advice on this stuff all day with so much clarity to other people. But hearing it myself is so hard. But see, maybe that's why I'm doing this, because saying it out loud, I have to remind myself that advice pertains to me too. So my best advice on that, I have a lot. But I would say that the best thing is to find a way to believe in yourself, which is easier said than done. But deep down, if you can really get in touch with the root of who you are and what you really want in life, deep down, all of us have something that we feel or we know that we're born to do. Deep down, we have a passion beyond anything else, a calling, if you want to use that term, something that is what we know we could do all the time, all day, every day, and never get tired of. If you can get in touch with what that is, it's number one, and number two is to believe in yourself enough to go for it. And I've done that. I quit working in the film industry about 7 years ago so that I could pursue working on Eco Vegan Gal full time and now all my other work, because I know deep down that my what I'm born to do, what my gift is, my deepest passion is helping other people do what they really want to do and be the best person that they can be. I want to help people transform into the best lives possible, and that's through learning about veganism and being more eco-friendly, being healthy overall, but also all the self-work that I've been talking about. I love those topics so much, and I love seeing people figure that out for themselves. So I know that that's my calling. And I know that on certain levels, I know that that's what I should be doing. I'm going to pause for a second to read Marina's comment, who said, I've been hard at this for the past 2 years, and a lot of issues have come up. Oh, it disappeared. Hold on. Let me go back to that. These live videos one day will make it easier to read comments. Oh, I think I swipe. Okay. I've been hard at this for the past 2 years, and a lot of issues have come up. My biggest struggle has been not knowing what my path/true calling is, and I had a revelation yesterday. I chose this. Marina, I don't know if your comment continues, and I can't see it in the chat right now, but if you want to write the rest of it, I'd love to read it. Oh, I chose this. It comes to our responsibility for ourselves. Absolutely. And that's, that's part of sorry, I'm trying to navigate this all. Anyways, I'm just going to stop touching the screen. But it is about responsibility. Personal growth is a huge responsibility. It's just a matter of, do we choose to do that work on ourselves or not? I'm choosing that right now, and it is not easy. But like I said before, just because it's hard doesn't mean that we shouldn't be doing it. I find that it's vital for me. And I think that's part of the trust too, is like, deep down. It's when you get in touch with that intuition deep down in yourself, when you really can get in touch with who you are in this world, you'll choose a path, whether it's hard or easy, right? And for most of the time, it's hard. But when you can work through it, when you commit to it, that it becomes easier to face the hard parts, if that makes sense. And it's just a practice. It's like, I do yoga and meditation, and they never really get easy, but they get easier, or they become more comfortable. The discomfort becomes more comfortable. And, that's why they're called practices. You don't really ever become, it's like you're always growing. And that's just part of life. I mean, being alive is growing. And for some reason, I don't know where this comes from, but we have this mentality, or many of us have a mentality that like, oh, we're going to get to a certain level and everything's going to be great and we're done with the work and all that. But when you really dive into all of this, you realize you're never done. So you just have to become more comfortable with the discomfort. Like, that's a huge part of meditation. Every meditation practice of mine is different. And accepting, it's like that acceptance and letting go of the resistance, like I've talked about, working through the resistance. Yoga, I've been doing yoga for years, and I still dread going to yoga, and I still struggle through some yoga classes. Some yoga classes are great and they flow and they go by like that, and some feel like they're so long, like an hour feels like an eternity. Some feel really, really hard on my body, and some feel great, some feel easy. Meditation's the same way. All of this it's also similar. Some days are so wonderful and easy and work is flowing, everything's flowing, and some days aren't. And I think it's coming to that realization and that acceptance of our lives, of just trusting and just committing to it and saying, this is how it is. Marina said that's because people are so deep in illusion. That's the human condition. I think, yeah, it really is easy to tap into this illusion, and it's very perpetuated through our society. Many of the things that we see on social media or in the news, or we see in conversations or marketing, it's so much about that illusion because people are looking to escape. And that's really where it comes down to choosing love or fear. So, when you read work by people like Marianne Williamson, she talks so much about love versus fear and how that pretty much everything comes down to those choices. Fear, I think, is all of that illusion that Marina just mentioned. We look for ways to escape, but we do that out of fear. We do that out of discomfort. So if you choose love, it's not always comfortable, but it's typically a lot more rewarding, and it's something about our soul and tuning into an intuition. And that reminds me of something else. I knew I was going to keep talking, so I love that there are 7 people here hanging out, engaging. This is awesome. And for those of you watching the recording, I hope you're enjoying this. I'm enjoying this, so I guess that's part of what matters here. I was thinking last night, after this conversation I had with this person yesterday about working through that challenge of knowing that he should quit a job, and knowing that really he should pursue his passion, but so afraid to and so in doubt about it. As I was talking to him, he had so much resistance. And just like every suggestion, I could see him saying yes to it, agreeing with it, but also like coming up with reasons why, like so many excuses. And I found myself like slightly self-conscious of like, ooh, like, are the things I'm saying really true? Or maybe he is right about this or that. Like, and then I remember afterwards having this knowing in my heart that I was on the right path with choosing a passion over the fear of not succeeding, if that makes sense. It's a little hard to verbalize what I'm trying to say here, but my point is like there's a knowingness that we can feel in our hearts when we're on the right track. I don't usually, I think the word right is like not the best word because I'm not trying to say right or wrong, but we're on the path that is best for us, perhaps is a better way to phrase it. There's just a knowing that you have in your heart. And so again, even when it's hard, if you can feel in your heart that it's right for you, it's best for you, that's where you keep going. That's why you persevere through the hard times. And we can also feel that when things are wrong or not good for us, or not the right direction for us. We feel in our hearts when we're out of alignment. And when you can tune into that, which again, all this self-work, all this reading, meditation, yoga, whatever you can do to tune into spirituality, maybe going to church or something, wherever you can tune into the universe or God, and get to know yourself more and connect more with those higher forces, you can start to tune more into yourself and just know when something feels right and when something doesn't feel right. And I think a lot of the times I can sense when people are choosing fear. So that's, I guess, like when something feels right, I equate that with love. And when something doesn't feel right, I equate that with fear typically. Because fear is like, fear is often wanting to do something, but being afraid of the consequences. Or it's such a deep subject matter, but I'll just leave it at that for now. Like this fear of like, I really want this, but I'm too afraid, so I'm going to choose to just be afraid. And I'm going to choose to do something that doesn't feel quite right to me, but that feels easier than choosing what does feel right to me, because choosing what's right for me is too hard. Now, love is very connected to trust. So when you're kind of in alignment, right? Love, alignment, trust, they all kind of fall into each other. And we all know what it feels like when we're in alignment with something and we're choosing love. It's very much like that in love feeling when you're with somebody and everything feels right in the world. Everything feels good, feels happy, you feel secure. That's love. And coming back to what Marina was saying about this illusion is like, sometimes when you go on social media or you watch the news and like you see something and it hits you and like you don't feel good about it. You're like, what I'm seeing right now is bringing up emotions that don't feel good. They don't feel like love. These emotions feel like fear. And oftentimes it's because somebody else is doing something out of fear. They're doing something for the quote unquote wrong reasons. They're doing something for attention. They're doing something that's just not in alignment with themselves. And we can sense that. And that's often why we don't feel very good. That's often why social media just feels off, because we're bombarded with all of these people making all these decisions. And so many people, when you tune into this and when you really pay attention to when people are doing things out of love versus fear, I personally notice how many people are living out of fear. And I'm so susceptible to that. That's part of what drains my energy, is when I see a ton of people living out of fear, acting out of fear, saying things out of fear, I start to feel that fear. So for me, it really helps to not be on social media as much, not watch the news or read the news as much as I want to know what's going on. Like I still have that fear of missing out, like fear of not knowing something. Like I love information, so I always want to know what's happening in the world. But it's hard to know what's happening in the world without putting yourself in a position of maybe seeing some things that are too fearful and that are going to hit you in not the right way. I'll wrap this up. I could talk about this subject for a very long time, maybe for the next live video. But I will say, like, so I live in Los Angeles, as many of you know, and right now there's been like a ton of talks about North Korea. And like I found myself last week getting really scared because like there's all of this news about like how they can have the missiles and the capability of bombing us and hitting Los Angeles, destroying the city, and like it felt so realistic and possible to me, and I was just like stricken with fear and started to think like maybe I should move out of LA. Maybe maybe I should, like it was all this fear because other people were fearful. I was absorbing all of that fear. And I had to step back and say, but I love living in LA. Like part of me is like, if the universe / God is meant for me to die in LA because North Korea sent a missile here and, blew up the city, I'm kind of willing to take that chance. And that felt like a more loving response because I believe that God has my back. And so like, I truly don't believe that's going to happen. And I'm not trying to be ignorant, but like, I do feel like if I'm in alignment, if that does happen, I either won't be hurt by it or I won't be here at that point. Or my bigger belief is that it's not actually going to happen. And again, you can call that ignorant, but that's more like a trust and a faith that I'll be protected. Or I also have the faith that if that's meant to be my destiny, I can't change that if I want to, right? Like we all have, I believe in a certain universal structure to our lives, and I have this faith that whatever's meant to be in my life is meant to be, and we're co-creating with the universe. I'll do as much as I possibly can. Of course, if I knew it ahead of time that North Korea was going to bomb LA, I would leave. But if it happened and there's nothing else I can do about it, then it's like there's a certain part of acting out of love where you just come to a place of acceptance. Does that make sense? I think there's a difference between acceptance out of a place of love and acceptance out of a place of fear. Like some people, acceptance out of a place of fear would be like, well, nothing I can do, might as well die. Or you can say, I don't want to die. But I trust that things are all going to happen for a reason. I brought that up as an example. It does feel like a very negative example, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. Like that was where I recognized my own spiritual evolution, was that I had the choice of lying awake at night being terrified of what North Korea could do, or I could say, I'm going to choose not to be fearful, and I'm going to choose to trust that I am protected and I'm in alignment with the universe. And that helps me sleep at night. All right, I saw a couple comments come in. Let me read those and then I'm going to wrap this up. Let's see here. Okay. So, Indeed and Truth said, every time we get what we want, we still want more. We're insatiable. We have to change our perspective and appreciate what we have at the moment. I think, yeah, I think I can agree with that. I definitely agree with the part of appreciating that we have in the moment, having gratitude for everything that we do have. I think the insatiable part, though, still comes down to fear. Or it still comes down to a place of not being in full alignment and gratitude. Because if we do have true gratitude for our lives, then we are satiable. Is that a word? What's the opposite of insatiable? Means we're satisfied. So everything that we do get, we're okay. We're unattached to whether we get more or not. That's something I've had to practice a lot. Of being okay and being present means whatever I have now is what I'm meant to have, and I'm grateful for what I do have. If I get more, awesome. If I don't get more, I'm grateful for what I have. And that is a big practice. I think that's definitely something that we can all work on. Marina said, fear and ego work together, and it's the voice that belittles you and makes you feel unworthy and undeserving. Absolutely. I think ego and fear may even be the same. Or maybe you're right, maybe it's that they work together. Most of our fear is based on the ego, and most of our ego is based on the fear. So that's where these feelings of unworthiness and undeserving and all those different emotions that come up that keep us from being our best selves and keep us from being in love. And those are the exact things that I've had to work through that have been taking so much time. But I can recognize, even just through doing this video, how much work I have done and how far I've come. And I think that's important to recognize who we are in the moment and part of that transformation. And Marina also said, I feel like protecting my energy a lot lately. And I'm not, because I didn't see exactly when that came in. I don't know when you said that, Marina, but yeah, I think protecting our energy is good, but that's also, we have to, are we protecting out of love or are we protecting out of fear? So we could protect ourselves, but sometimes that's shielding ourselves or hiding ourselves or like being afraid, versus saying, I love myself so much that I'm choosing not to participate in the fear. I think that's what you were probably saying, Marina, and I think that's really helpful. And lastly, I will say, I'll wrap this up with some of the uh, suggestions I read about how to recover from spiritual fatigue. I think this is a great note to end on. So in this one article, they suggested that first of all, you rest. So fatigue generally means that we're tired, so resting a ton. I feel like I rest a lot, but I think part of my body is telling me that I have not finished resting. And that is a huge thing, that a huge issue for a lot of people in terms of wellness. I mean, so many people are addicted to caffeine for that very reason, is that they're not getting enough sleep and they're not resting enough. We live in such a go, go, go society, most of us. And, we're working all the time and we're running around. If we have families, like Em was saying earlier, having children is so fatiguing because they require so much work. I mean, there's just always something to be done. I have a digital to-do list, and I usually have about 500 things on that to-do list. Not all due at once, but they're all there. And every day I'm like, I have 500 things I need to do, literally. And that's exhausting. So, it's hard for us to rest. And Marina just said something else. Let me see what it was. Come on. She said, definitely out of love, especially when you're in a fragile state of growing and working on yourself. And that was in response to protecting your energy. I love that, Marina. Okay, number 2 for how to recover from spiritual fatigue. Find the mind of peace. And that includes don't watch or read the news, as I talked about earlier. Interacting with people less is kind of like what Marina was talking about too, is sometimes we need to be very careful of who we interact with, but also how much we interact with people, period. Lately, one thing I'm experimenting with is having set days for social interactions. It's hard to do for me because, especially in LA, and given that I love socializing, I'm constantly asked to get together with people, which is a great problem to have. But I decided to aim for 2 days a week that I would set up hangouts and dates, and dates being with friends or romantic, and just any sort of in-person interaction, and do my best to schedule everything there, and then have flexibility for certain people that might have more rigid schedules. So my current dates are Wednesdays and Sundays. So Wednesdays just tend to be a good day, day of the week, and Sundays are typically good. Plus that's the day that I usually try to go to church, and I can kind of combine going to church with hanging out with church friends or hanging out with people afterwards. And so far I've been able to schedule a lot of things on those days, so that's been great. Yesterday I had an amazing friend date. I love that term. I went on a hike with an incredible spiritual entrepreneur, and I felt so energized and excited after that. So I also try to have my dates, my hangouts with people that are going to make me feel good, and that we can we're coming at from the same energetic space, and that really helps. And for people that maybe drain your energy more, interacting with them less or taking a break from them altogether can be helpful. And then also another tip for finding the mind of peace is to meditate, as I said earlier. That's a whole nother topic I can dive into at some point. How meditation has really helped me, and how much I encourage all of you to try that. It's just on another level when you really commit to meditation. incredible. Third tip for how to recover from spiritual fatigue is to let silence heal you, and doing things like not listening to a ton of music, turning off the TV, or not watching Netflix or any sort of YouTube video like this one for a whole day, and only speak when you want to communicate, otherwise be silent. This is interesting, very interesting, because when I read that tip, I realized I don't have a ton of silence. I have a lot of silence, but I don't know if I've ever gone a day completely silent. I know some people that have done silent retreats before, and I've always been intrigued by that. But I'm very curious now what it would be like to go a whole day with no noise that I can control. Kind of scares me, but I also really want to do it, so I feel like I need to like put it on my calendar and commit to it. Okay, fourth tip is to have a laugh with friends. Absolutely, that's so healing. I think laughing in general is always great, but being with people in person and laughing is amazing. I went to a comedy show almost 2 weeks ago with my friend Jason, and it was so great to just laugh for an entire hour. It was a great comedy show. That was really healing. But just choosing people that you know you're going to laugh with, and having those lighthearted conversations. Tip number 5, I think it is reconnect with nature. So doing things like just going outside, taking walks. That's huge. In Los Angeles, I can tell you, if I can do it in Los Angeles, you can do it pretty much anywhere. There's a ton of nature in LA, which is part of the reason I love the city. Yesterday, I went on a hike in this one area called Franklin Canyon. If you guys live in LA or visit or have friends here, Franklin Canyon is like a diamond in the rough. It feels like it's a national park in the middle of LA, and I didn't know about it until like a month ago, and I've been living here for like 13 years. So you know, there are places that you might not even know about where you can really deeply connect with nature. So I try to do that as frequently as possible. Tip number 6 is to use your comfort rituals. And this is basically whatever's comforting to you. Some of the things that were suggested in this list was drinking tea, which I often do, eating specific foods, which is usually one of my go-to things for comfort. Today, the only time I went outside of my home was to go to the grocery store and buy comfort foods. I didn't make the healthiest choices, but I chose to be okay with the fact that I was eating some slightly unhealthy food, because sometimes comfort food is very comforting. So you got to be like lenient with yourself sometimes. And then reading. I find reading incredibly, incredibly healing and comforting. All around me are books. I don't even know how many books I have, but I have a ton. And then I have digital books and audiobooks, like I was saying earlier. So I've been prioritizing those a lot, and that really helps. In fact, I'll probably make some tea. I also love aromatherapy. To my left, I have my new aromatherapy diffuser. And every day I've been turning it on and putting in some really wonderful aromatherapy, or why can't I think of the word? It's completely escaping my brain. What is this called? Essential oils, that's what it is. Wow, isn't it funny when that happens? So every day I put essential oils that are meant for like peace and relaxation and all of that into my diffuser, and it just has a subtle smell throughout my home. Just looking at it, knowing that it's on, makes me feel more comfortable. And sometimes I'll put essential oils on my body too, like candles. I have a candle lit over there. I have a new candle. If you haven't yet, speaking of spirituality, I have a new video on the Eco Vegan Gal channel that's all about this awesome box called the Goddess Provisions. And in it, I got one of the most amazing candles I've ever had. So check out that video. I have a link to that candle. I cannot recommend it enough. It's amazing. It has like flowers in it and herbs, and it has gemstones in it, and it smells so incredible. So that candle's amazing. And welcome. I see a couple new people just joined. I've been talking for over an hour. But thank you for being here. If you want to say hello, I'm going to try to wrap this up soon, but I'd love to hear from you. Okay, and the last tip number 7 for how to recover from spiritual fatigue is to use touch for wholeness, including getting hugs from friends, loved ones, family, and getting massages. I definitely can vouch for this. Physical touch is really, really healing. So, it's interesting when you put all these things together, resting the body, finding peace of mind, letting silence heal you, having laughs with friends, reconnecting with nature, using comforting rituals, and using touch for wholeness. These are all things that seem pretty obvious, but we don't often commit to doing them all. And now that I'm recognizing how much spiritual fatigue I have, how much resistance I have, I feel like it's very important that I commit to doing all of this. So part of this video is holding myself accountable and inspiring, encouraging you guys to do this yourself and to get in touch with it, whether or not you think you have spiritual fatigue, or maybe you know somebody else who might have that, or maybe you just feel like you're going through a tough time and one of these things resonates with you. Make it a priority for yourself. Give yourself that credit. I remember before I quit my full-time job, and also before I stopped working my part-time jobs, I wasn't really prioritizing myself because I was so driven by money, and I still am very much so driven by money because money is helpful for paying bills. But as I was saying earlier, I've now decided to prioritize myself over this endless focus on working really, really hard for money, and also just curious if it's possible to make money even when you're not always working. And I think it is possible. I just haven't fully experienced that yet. But that's a whole other topic that I will not get into because I want to wrap this video up. But my point is I think that's a huge part of why we get so exhausted, is so many of us are just go, 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 go all the time. And somehow we've been conditioned to do that. And so we don't stop and take care of ourselves as much as we need to, or as frequently as we need to. No wonder we get fatigued. No wonder we don't get enough sleep. And it's amazing how these simple things, just sleeping more, resting more, not watching the news, interacting with people less, taking the time to meditate, not listening to as much music or watching as much TV or talking as much, laughing more, being in nature more, having tea and eating the foods that you love and taking the time for reading and hugging people more often or getting massages. All of us know that those things make us feel good, but how often do we do those things, and do we combine them all together? A lot of people save those things for the occasional vacation or going to a spa, going on retreat. It's just like this rare thing, but is not doing how much are you impacted if you don't do those things? And as I've recognized, kind of the whole point of this video, my inspiration for doing this video, is that I need to be doing those things a lot more frequently. And even when I do that, it's still taking a long time. It's not a quick fix. Going on vacation isn't going to fix it for me right now in my life. I need to be doing these things every day for a long period of time. I think we try to rush healing. We want to rush so much. I've spent so much of my life doing that. Like weight loss, for example. So much of my life I've tried to lose weight and get in shape. And I've recognized as I've gotten older, it takes time for your body to truly transform on a healthy level. There are shortcuts to it, but the shortcuts come with consequences. Taking a vacation is kind of like a shortcut to feeling better. Going on a retreat, doing a detox or a cleanse, like these things that we do for a few days, they're not deeply healing us. It's like a temporary bandage. And right now I'm recognizing that the deep work and that time, the commitment to that deep healing, it takes a really long time, but it's really worth it. And I'm still in it right now. As I used the metaphor earlier with the caterpillar, I'm still in my cocoon phase. I got a lot I don't know when I'm coming out. I don't know when my wings are gonna come out. But the cool thing is I feel like I've had wings for a long time, but I think right now I'm realizing I haven't even grown them yet. So if crawling as a caterpillar felt like wings to me, I can't wait to see what actual wings are gonna feel like. Which might sound really sappy, but it also feels like very profound, and that just came to my head. So yeah, that's deep. All right, I'm gonna read some comments and wrap things up. If anybody else who just joins wants to say hi, tell me your name, ask a question. I mean, I'm not in a rush to leave. I'm just trying to be mindful, especially those watching the recording. But let's check out what the last few comments said. Oh, so Kirsten is here, who said, thanks, it's great seeing you again. Can you make a video on how to grow a business? I'm in the startup phase. I'm currently a vegetarian and vegan nutritionist. Kirsten, you weren't here, I don't think, for the part probably like half an hour ago where I was briefly talking about this. I actually have a bunch of resources up, and I'm creating a lot more. I have a channel, I'm like, what is that channel called again? It's called EVG Venture. It should be linked in the description field of this video. If not, I will put it in here when this video goes live. And EVG, or you can search for it, EVG, like Eco Vegan Gal Venture. That's all about business. And I have a private Facebook group called Creative Wealth that's all about how to like thrive as a business owner and a content creator in the vegan space. And that's actually something I coach people on regularly. I also have a paid membership group called the Creators Community, which is basically an ongoing mentorship and support group to help vegans thrive with their businesses and content creation. So if that's something you're interested in, there's some information in my video underneath my videos in the description. And if you can't find what you're looking for, just message me and I'll point you in the right direction. But I'm really glad you asked, and I can absolutely do more content on that. Okay, next, Indeed and Truth said, I feel guilty when I have a million things to do but choose to relax. It's hard to make time for yourself. I totally understand that, but I think the whole point of this video is that I've chosen to do that for myself, and it has been hard. I do feel guilty sometimes, but in my heart, I know I'm on the right path. And so if you feel like that's what you really need to do, you got to bypass the guilt and do it anyways, because the rewards will be so worth it. When we deeply work on ourselves, that's where massive change happens. That's where we grow our wings. You have to choose to go into that cocoon. You have to choose to go through that transformation period, and you have to choose not to feel guilty about it. One of the books I've read recently is called Daily Love by Mastin Kipp, who has Daily Love. It's like a newsletter and a website. Great book about this very subject matter. I loved that book so much. And he talks about all the hardships and all the growth that he had to go through to get to his place. But now he's like in this amazing place, helping so many people do the exact same thing. So he shows what it's like to go through that period of time where when you work on yourself, and how that transformation can lead to big things for your life and also big things for other people. I truly believe that when we focus on ourselves and grow ourselves, we can best serve the world. Because when we're not at our best, when we're not our best selves, when we're not in touch with who we really are, we actually are doing a disservice for not only ourselves, but for other people. And that's why I know I've had to step away. That's why it's hard for me to create content, period, but maybe it's better that I haven't been creating content because I haven't been my best self. I've been working on becoming my best self so that I can be the best I can be for you guys and for everybody else. And so that guilt is like an illusion, as I think Marina was the one that said that earlier. Was that you? I don't remember, but that illusion, it's just the ego, it's just fear. And guilt can melt away faster than you can realize, especially if you know deep down what you need to do and how important it is for you in the world. Okay, let's see. Marina said, the simple truths have so much depth to them. In a way, it's going back to basics. Absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, who we really are is pretty basic. But we spend so much of our lives getting covered up with all those illusions and all that fear. But who we are is love. Love is at the base of it. Most religions talk about this, and spirituality definitely speaks about this. Spirituality and religion can be the same thing or separate depending on how you choose to look at it. But, love is who we really, really are. And so we just have to get rid of the fear, all the layers of fear that we've built up, and get down to the root. A username that I can't make out because it's in an Asian symbol said true. Oh, sorry. YouTube system is kind of weird. How do we honestly, maybe you said live without ego? I think it says I've without ego, but maybe say live with it. I'm not sure if you're asking a question or making a statement there, but I'm not sure at this point if it's possible to live without ego. I've done a lot of reading on it. Great resource. One of the first places I really learned about ego is from Eckhart Tolle. Power of Now and Return to, is it called Return to Earth? No, what's that book called? I'm blanking on it. But he has two books that are phenomenal. He might have more than two actually, but Power of Now is the most well-known book, and that's all about the ego, and so is the other one. This name I'm botching at the moment, but I love those books, and they blew my mind learning about ego. Marianne Williamson talks about that as well. A lot of the people in that community, the spiritual community, talk a lot about ego, and as I said, I don't know if it's possible to truly live without ego, but I think it's possible to really minimize it and check ourselves when ego comes in and tell ego to quiet down or silence it. So it's part of meditation is recognizing when our ego comes up and when it's driven me. And the same person just said, I feel we need ego sometimes in life. That's possible we need it. I think ego is a big part of our lives. It all depends on how you define ego too. There's a lot of loose definitions of ego, but if you haven't yet read any of Eckhart's work, highly, highly recommend it. Let me see, what is that second book called? Eckhart Tolle is Power of Now and A New Earth, not A Return to Earth, A New Earth. I actually liked A New Earth better than The Power of Now. That I read it first, so I would highly recommend A New Earth. If you haven't read it, or if any of you haven't read it, so good. Yes, A New Earth. It is excellent. I'll put it in the, I gotta write up some notes. So I'll put A New Earth in there. I'll put Marianne's book in the notes. I'll put Pamela's work in the notes. I'll put Daily Love in the notes. I'm going to link to all of the books, and the links I use are affiliate links. So if you guys decide to buy any of them, I get a little commission, which is part of the way I make money passively. If any of you guys want to support me in a small way, it's no cost to you. I'm also going to link to Overdrive, where you guys can listen to and download books for free if you don't want to spend the money on them. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Lots of questions coming in. Kirsten said, I follow you all over and I've seen all. I missed the podcast you did. So many good tips. I've been thinking about that podcast too. It was called Real Influencer, for those of you who didn't know it. It was because it was in partnership with somebody else and who was taking some time off from that work. And I have been thinking about starting up at least one podcast. I love talking about business. So I'm working towards all of that, but as I've been talking about this whole video, I've been in this resistance/spiritual fatigue state that's kept me from executing on lots of things, but there's so much to come when I come out of my cocoon. So stay tuned, Kirsten. And again, I'll also link to the creators community. I'm typing notes for myself right now. I'll link to the Creative Wealth Facebook group if any of you want to join. And there's something else. Oh, the EVG Venture YouTube channel. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. I love you guys got so talkative now that I was gonna wrap up the video. I love that though. What are my thoughts about raw? I'm curious if you mean raw food. I think I have a video about that. I'll link to that too. I'm almost positive I have a video on the main Eco Vegan Gals channel where I share all my thoughts about raw food. So I'll link to that, which goes in depth. Marina said, in Rich Roll's latest podcast, Leo I know exactly what you're talking about. Is it Bauta? Talks about ending human suffering and accepting the ego, acknowledging it and inviting it to tea. I think, I don't know if I bookmarked that or not, but I'm definitely going to listen to that and I will put it in my notes too. Leo does phenomenal work, so I can't wait to listen to that. Thank you. All right, so that was it in terms of current comments. I will give a few moments if anybody else has another question or a comment or a suggestion, or if there's anything else I'm forgetting that I can put in the YouTube description. I'm gathering together everything, hopefully everything that I've talked about tonight. I need to include the fire starter sessions too. And I'm going to put that in the YouTube description when this video goes public or permanent on the uncensored channel, so you guys can check out everything. So that should be within the next 15 minutes or so. You'll have links to everything there. I want to thank you all so much for being here. It's amazing. If you missed in the beginning, I said this is the first live video I've done on this channel. Well, not actually, technically I think I've done Google Hangouts in the past, but this is my first like mobile live, which is like the new YouTube setup. So thank you for being here. This is spontaneous. I've been talking for over an hour. I would love to know, for those of you who have watched the recording, if you've watched all the way through. I'm just always amazed when people dedicate that much time. And I would really love to know any suggestions, requests for future videos. I think I'm going to be focusing a lot on live just because it's easier for me to do live videos right now due to all the resistance. As I mentioned several times in the videos, I've actually recorded a bunch of videos for this channel in the past 6 months and have not uploaded them. So it's not that I haven't, sometimes I create and just am too afraid, for lack of a better word, to share them. So they will go up eventually. I'm committed to that. I just don't know when. But doing live, you know, and not only am I holding myself accountable, but I actually get to interact with you guys, which is so much cooler than sitting by myself recording a video and posting it. So I love this live format. So any requests, any time of days that you would like that are more convenient for you, I'm going to experiment, or maybe just do them sporadically. I don't know. But please, I love to hear from you, either publicly or privately. Put it in the comments, send me a private message. I try to read everything, and I'm really here for you. Sometimes it takes me a while to get back to everybody, but I do read every single message that I receive, and I'm grateful for them all. So grateful for your time, and this topic has been really healing for me to just discuss out loud. I hope it's helped you, given you some insight. I'm really committed to all of our spiritual growth, my own and yours. So whatever I can pass on to you from what I've learned, I will do my best to continue to share that with. A few more comments came in. Let's check them out. Marina said, I've listened to Rich's podcast with Daniel Laporte about becoming your own ego. Strongly recommend it. So I will put that in the resources for everybody to check out. And Marina says, thanks, I believe in you to find your way. Thank you. Your belief in me means so much. And she said, becoming your own guru. I love that. And then Indeed and Truth said, no questions, but thank you for the live video. Much love from Alaska. I love it. It's like the coolest thing ever when people are watching from different parts of the world. Just blows my mind, the time of age we live in where we can connect to one another. So thank you for commenting, and thank you for being here, and I will see you all very soon. Thank you for letting me share my heart, and just, yeah, thanks for it all. It's really, I feel like so good after doing this. So I'm going to go post the video, and I look forward to seeing you here live very, very soon. I might get addicted to this, so it might become like a very frequent thing. Okay, until then, have a wonderful rest of your day or a wonderful rest if you're going to bed soon, which I should be doing. Bye.